opportunities
Okay.
as the U.S. is trying to, build up its own tech infrastructure.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you're working in retail,
Uh-huh.
you could be looking at higher prices for just about everything.
Yeah.
As those supply chains start to shift,
Right.
it's a complex web.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? Every thread is connected.
It's connected.
That's true.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah, it is.
And China's not the only major player on the board here.
Yeah, not at all.
We got to talk about
We do.
the elephant,
Right.
or maybe the bear in the room,
The bear.
Russia.
Yeah.
That war in Ukraine. It's
Yeah.
the real wild card here.
Mm-hmm.
This source is suggesting that Trump might try his hand at peace negotiations.
Okay.
But let's be real.
Right.
What are the chances of that actually working?
I mean,
We're talking deeply entrenched positions, accusations of war crimes, a conflict that has already completely reshaped the geopolitical map.
right. And that's where Trump's style of deal-making
Okay.
comes into play, whether you admire it or not.
Right.
He might very well try to dangle the carrot of easing sanctions
Okay.
to try to get Putin to the negotiating table. But that comes with huge risks.
Right.
I mean, is he willing to sacrifice Ukraine's territorial integrity for a deal?
Oh, wow.
Would easing sanctions on Russia just embolden Putin further and
Sure.
further destabilize the region?
Yeah.
It's a tightrope walk.
Yeah.
And the consequences of a misstep
Right.
could be catastrophic.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
A tightrope walk.
Mm-hmm.
This source is also pointing to a potential return to maximum pressure on Iran.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this playbook before, right?
Yeah.
With the withdrawal from the nuclear deal
Right.
and the imposition of those crippling sanctions.
Right.
But is that actually a sustainable solution long term?
Right.
Or are we just kicking the can down the road again?
Oh, the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's always a pressure. Cooker, isn't it?
Always feels that way.
And Iran is a key ingredient in that mix.
Yeah.
You know, tightening the screws on Iran economically.
Yeah.
It might seem like a way to limit their influence,
Uh-huh.
but it could also totally backfire. It
Yeah.
could push them further into the arms of China and Russia.
Oh, gosh.
Or worse, escalate tensions in the region even further.
Right.
And let's not forget about the humanitarian cost of those sanctions,
Right.
which often hits ordinary citizens the hardest.
Absolutely. Another area where Trump's approach could rock the boat.
Yeah.
NATO.
Oh, yeah.
He's been very vocal about getting those allies to pony up more for defense.
Yeah, he has.
And this source is indicating that that's not going to change.
Right.
But is he pushing too hard?
I mean,
Could this whole, pay up or else stance
yeah.
actually weaken the alliance and play right into the hands of adversaries like Russia?
It's like, imagine a family Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay.
right?
Right.
Where one person keeps demanding that everyone else pay their share, it creates resentment, tension,
Right.
and ultimately just weakens the bonds that hold that family together.
Yeah.
That's the risk with NATO.
Okay.
Pushing allies too hard on spending could create these deep divisions,
Right.
make it much harder to present a united front
Right.
against these shared threats.
Right. Those shared threats.
And let's be honest,
Yeah.
a fractured NATO is exactly what Putin wants to see.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of power plays, we can't ignore the Asia Pacific,
Right.
where China's influence is
Right.
growing like a bamboo forest.
It really is.
This source highlights it as a major chessboard.
Yeah.
And it seems like Trump's strategy will be all about building alliances to counter that rise.
It is a fascinating game of strategic encirclement,
Yeah.
strengthening ties with India, Japan, maybe even Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
These are all cards the U.S. can play to try and box in China.
Okay.
And we're likely to see a much more assertive U.S. Navy presence
Yeah.
in the South China Sea,
Right.
directly challenging China's territorial claims. Oh, gosh.
This could very well be a flashpoint for conflict.
Right.
And the implications for global trade are massive.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, so much of what we buy,
Right.
from electronics to clothes,
Yeah.
it comes through those shipping lanes.
It all comes through there.
Yeah.
And weaving through all of this is the America First philosophy. It's clear from the source.
Yeah,
This remains the bedrock
it does.
of Trump's worldview.
Mm-hmm.
But what does America First even look like
Right.
in a world that's more interconnected than ever?
Right.
Can you really put America first without even considering the impact on global systems, on economies,
Yeah.
on relationships?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
We could see more trade deals that prioritize American industries.
Oh, quickly.
Stricter immigration policies, a withdrawal from international agreements
Okay.
that Trump sees as unfavorable to the U.S.
Yeah.
But this go-it-alone approach.
Right. It could isolate America, damage its reputation,
Yeah.
and ultimately make it much harder to achieve its goals.
Wow.
It's a paradox.
It is.
The more you try to go it alone, the more you need others to cooperate.
That's a really good point. So
Yeah.
what's the bottom line here
Yeah.
for our listener?
Wow.
We've taken this deep dive
We have.
into the potential foreign policy of a second Trump presidency.
Right.
And it's clear that the world could be in for a very bumpy ride.
Could be.
It's not just about policy decisions.
Right.
It's about the potential for instability,
Yeah.
for conflict,
Mm-hmm.
for a complete reshuffling of the global order as we know it.
That's a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about.
Yeah.
The question for you listening is, how will you navigate this new world?
Right.
How will you stay informed?
Yeah.
Make sense of all the chaos?
Right.
And find your place in this ever-evolving landscape?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't predict the future, but we can equip ourselves with knowledge, with critical thinking skills,
Right.
and with a willingness to engage in thoughtful discussion.
Yes.
It's going to be a wild ride,
Oh, it is.
but it's also a huge opportunity to learn to grow
Yeah.
and to shape the world we want to live in.
Absolutely.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.